Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick, Season 1, Episode 4 of Hulu's Marvel's Runaways, 15, Bibbs, Meredith, Alonso. Wow, I don't think the phrase warm me was ever in my repertoire, but it's out now for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least we saw with Carolina, or Caroline, that, you know, she glows all over, but Mom's glowing force comes from a deeper place.
Yeah. I was.
I don't remember that from the comics. That's weird.
Well, because the parents are dead by, I mean, spoiler for the comics, but it happens in like the first issue. But yeah, it is. I will say the changes they're making from the comics into the film, I'm very excited. And I know a lot of people I've seen a lot of social media say, why haven't they run away yet? And I'm like, I'm okay.
Well, I'm mostly okay. This particular episode for me, I thought we weren't moving at a breakneck pace, but we were moving progressively forward, steadily forward into the plot. And I thought that this particular episode had a fair amount of backtracking. You look at something like the York's family, when you know, everyone's just happy they have a dinosaur, and that's great, but also murder basement. And I just feel like, you know, we've taken a bit of a sidetrack right now, and I hope this is not the trend, and I hope it does indeed move forward.
I like the fact that you have some of the kids who are immediately convinced, okay, our parents are up to no good, and other ones who still need some convincing. Like Carolina and Gertie are still sort of like, I don't know, maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
At the same time, it just feels like there is a particular place this is going. It is in the title. I made a joke about that before, and I feel like there's only so much hemming and hawing I'm really going to take, and I just hope it doesn't go much further than
fair enough. But I don't know. I think, like, I don't know if y'all ever watched episodes on Showtime.
No.
There was the premise is like these people created a show in Britain, it gets brought to the United States, and of course it was ruined. But one of the characters in the British show had been like it was about a school teacher, and then there was sort of a lesbian teacher that he had sort of you know, kind of a bantery friction with. And in the American show, they turned the lesbian character into a love interest for the teacher. And at first the creator's like, what? How dare you? And they're like, no, you guys do 6-season episodes. We have to do 13. We may do several years. We have to give them somewhere to go. Otherwise, this is just not, you know, we're gonna be stuck in a thing that we can't get out of. And so, yeah, I think for a show called Runaways, they don't necessarily have to run away in the pilot.
Oh, and I agree with that. I just want to feel like there's a forward momentum, and here I felt we were backtracking in the momentum.
But I think they're learning stuff along the way.
We also have to recognize that the title Runaways, while we know as fans of the comics, it's about the kids running away, but we see this subverted a little bit because when they find the file on Carolina's mom's computer, that all these kids that they've compiled are all runaways themselves, that they have sacrificed for the last 15 years. So
there's your title?
Yeah, I mean,
I agree, it works that way too. And I think there's a lot going on in that in terms of just running away from your responsibilities, or I mean, we
run away from your preconceived notion about your parents.
Exactly. The idea of wanting to escape from a situation is, of course, very understandable, and I think there's a lot to explore within that. And you're right. I think it is good that we're doing that. At the same time, you know, I just before a bit, we have the parents trying to replace their human sacrifice, which I can't tell how funny they were trying to make that. Like, is this kind of funny that they have to go find a homeless person to murder? Or is this as horrifying as it really should be? I don't know, it's a weird dynamic.
All I know is that that was shot down the street from my place, so I'm just kind of like, cool, I'm not gonna hang out in that alleyway. But there was a weird humor. There was definitely I wouldn't say it was a dark humor, but there was a weird humor note there that I just wasn't quite sure if, is this supposed, like you said, is this supposed to be funny?
Because we're showing it from the perspective of the kids and the parents, and they're wildly different perspectives. The parents are entrenched in some horrible, sinister machination, and the details of which have not yet been revealed, at least in the show. But to them, this is day to day.
Yeah.
You know, there's a certain amount of routine, even in something horrible, creates a weird vibe, and you see this in people who have morbid jobs. The idea of gallows humor. But when you contrast that with the kids who know or suspect what their parents are doing are horrible, it just creates an odd dynamic that's interesting, but it's kind of odd to watch.
I think it's also interesting that the parents aren't all necessarily on the same page, you know, because you have like Gertie's parents sort of planning their escape, and then you have, you know, Nico's mother showing up to tell them, oh no, you're not. I know exactly what you're doing, and that's not going to happen. So, you know, I don't know. I think they're throwing us a lot of different things here, a lot of angles for this, and so it's not all sort of monochromatic. And I'm not feeling impatient yet.
Well, there's one bit I like that actually does feel like, you know, here's someone who wanted to run away and maybe less so, and that's Chase and his father. We've seen a lot of scenes about how Chase is not doing well in school, but one thing I like is that they're not saying Chase is a dumb jock. He's just not good at languages or anything. He's actually very intelligent in science, and he takes after his father. And now that his father sees this point of connection, Dad's going to finally take an interest in him, and now he might actually be less willing to turn on his father. And I thought that was a great beat.
Yeah, I don't know, because given like what they've peppered in with the backstory with the father possibly being abusive. I wonder if Chase is going to be smart enough to be like, well, I'm going to use my father's resources. And another thing I do want to bring up that they dealt with, and I thought they dealt with very well, was the attempted rape of Carolina and how Chase handled that. And we almost saw this parallel to the Duke lacrosse story, because you know, he's part of the lacrosse team, and you know, everyone's like, well, we have to stick together for the team, and Chase is like, no, I'm out. Bye. I'm not going to put up with this. And I think that message, while so short and just this tiny little subplot in this series, was very well done. And I think about like the non-adults watching this show and how important that was. And I think I want to, you know, I'm hesitant to say this on episode 4, but I think they're doing a lot of things responsibly. You know, even earlier when we see Alex with the gun and he's pointing it at himself in the mirror, and it's dark. It's like, wow, what is this foreshadowing? Is this foreshadowing Alex possibly getting in over his head? Is this foreshadowing what they do in the comics with Alex? I think there's a lot of thought put into these scenes and these characters. So more so for the kids, less so I feel for the parents. And I want to say that like they're doing a fantastic job, and I think this is really good for a younger teenage audience to watch and hopefully, you know, experience and learn from.
Right, and it's something I think we need to with our stories of heroism. We get a little wrapped up, I think, sometimes in the mythology. But the reason why we have superheroes is to have some sort of bastion of morality or ethics, someone to look up to, someone to fantasize about, to be better than ourselves. And that's going to evolve with every generation, what that is and what that means. And I like what Runaways is doing with it, and I like a lot of the topics it's tackling. And
I find it more compelling because I've never been a fan of Superman, because Superman is this pinnacle of good that's unattainable for most people. I like my superheroes flawed. I like them to have individuals. I like them to struggle like I as a real person struggle, but then they overcome it. And not necessarily because they have super strength or can communicate with telepathically with a dinosaur. It's because they have something core in them that makes them choose good over evil. And I think that seeing this and possibly even seeing some of these kids falter, I think is going to be an important lesson. And that's something that I feel Marvel Comics as a whole has done well for generations, that they, you know, it's the comics of morality. I mean, you look at the X-Men, you look at
Spider-Man. His whole thing is he did something irresponsible and immoral once, and now he has a complex about it and will never let it happen.
But I feel that the you know, despite as much as I love the films and the Netflix shows, I feel we haven't truly captured that essence of Marvel yet. And I feel Runaways is doing that.
I want to throw out real quick a couple of little inside jokey references here, just for anybody who cares. The coffee place is called Timely, which is Marvel Comics' old name as a publisher. Also, one of the very first examples of an animated film is a guy named Winsor McKay, who's most famous for doing the Little Nemo comic strip, but he did a series of shorts about Gertie the dinosaur.
Oh, that's so cute.
Ta-da.
And that, if you've never seen that, by the way, that is such a cool short, because it actually was accompanied by a guy standing next to the screen who then jumped into the movie. At one point, it was really
out of the inkwell.
So I have to ask, was Old Lace ever something that was brought up in? Because in the comics, the dinosaur's name is Old Lace. So I wonder if that's
if memory serves, that was. I'm trying to remember, and someone's going to correct me, and I apologize. There was this moment in the comics where everyone decided to give themselves cool superhero names because they ditched their parents and creating their own identities, and then like 5 issues later they were like, we never used those. And they just, and it was like only for like Marvel marketing purposes, but like Carolina was Lucy in the Sky, and I think Gertrude wanted to be Arsenic, and that's why she named her dinosaur Old Lace. If memory serves, that's
funny. All right, so I think they're on a roll here. I'm liking what they're doing so far, and we'll be back to talk about more of it if we can get the wide shot. Thank you. We'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.